I think it's perfectly okay. I don't see it as overstepping to say, yes, I would love to do that. And then also I would say, to make sure that this person knows that you're available to help them and add value to them in any possible way that you can, as well as all of those people that you're connecting with from a networking standpoint. Um, I also think that as when you're kind of, let's say, high volume networking, reaching out one on one to get to know people and see what you might have in common, is to be as specific as you can, I think, in your ask. I found that in my past, if I'm doing a high volume of one-on-one networking, kind of general networking, the more specific I am in my ask, the easier it is for those people to help me, and vice versa. So I know that's not.
And on that note, I can't tell you how many people over the years have said, Laura, reach out to me on any jobs you have. And I'm like, no, like you need to tell me exactly what you want. Like, it's not on me to know what's worthy of a phone call to you. You have to tell us and be memorable for us to have you come to mind first. Same thing goes with networking. You have to be memorable. You have to have something to say like, wow, when you think of these 3 things or these 2 things, I want you to think of me. And what I do is I practice that over and over and over and over until it becomes just memorized into your psyche.
That's really good advice. And I would add too, I get asked a lot by someone who, so for example, I'll use TCF, JJ, because it came up earlier. So I just applied for a job at TCF. Do you know anybody there that you can connect me to? And my ask is always, well, it'd be really helpful for me to know what job it was that you applied to, maybe why you applied to that job. So are there any standout things that I can think of you for? Because I'm happy to connect. If I can make a connection, great, but help me help you, so that when I do reach out to Laura King to say, hey, this person just applied, I actually know why this person applied. And for Laura's sake, I'm not just wasting her time to make a connection. So for Laura's sake, if this is somebody who I'm super passionate about, applied for this job because this, and this, then she has the opportunity for internal referral or for whoever she can connect within TCF. So it's just another way to think about us or you helping yourself with your connection, not only how many people to look for or to ask for, but to give us or that person a reason to continue connecting.
Sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have one thing to add. I connect with a lot of people and I make introductions. I've noticed that sometimes I'm waiting for someone to send me what they are looking for. It's like taking forever. So I even follow up and saying, hey, I'm still waiting for your 1-pager so that I can forward to this connection that you're seeking. And I never even hear back from them. So I feel like, okay, what is, the role should be reversed almost.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
It's
I used to always say,
it's the follow-ups. Yeah, it matters.
That the one who wants the job is the one who gets it. Like the one who wants it the most is usually the one who gets it. Because if you are just persistent and consistent, I mean, that pays off. I mean, I can tell you too, everyone's busy, right? We can just take that as a, we're busy, we're bombarded with things. But the people who, even if I didn't respond to their initial email, who will ping me a week later or 2 weeks later with a gentle nudge, being like, hey, I'm sure this just got lost in the shuffle, and they forward their original email to me, I'm like, wow, this person's taking charge of, like they're not apologetic. They're like, they realize that I'm busy and I probably just forgot about it. And so you can do the same thing. And it's just, it's nothing about, oh, well, they don't think, they don't think I'm great. No, it's just, you have to be top of mind.
Busy.
Yeah.
People are busy. Yeah. I do have a question if if it is okay to ask. I just want to ask you guys, Laura and Michaela and Jamie, what are you seeing in the market? I just lost 5 opportunity in the last over 2 months to internal candidates. What are you seeing?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I don't have any marketing jobs I'm working on right now. At Core Talent, we have mostly operations and sales positions.
Yeah, so my background is a little unique. I am both marketing and sales. So ideal role will be like head of revenue. That's my or some company call it chief commercial officer. I like that ability to have both marketing and sales. And I grew up in marketing and had the pleasure having both marketing and sales. I really enjoy that, particularly for kind of a manufacturing company, B2B industrial, B2B2C, highly engineered offerings. So that's where I'm looking for. But I just cannot believe. For the last over 2.5 months, I thought I have a pretty full pipeline, and most of them I lost to internal candidate. I just cannot believe it.
Yeah, that's crazy. What I will say, we're seeing a huge influx in contract to hire. So we were really slow with contract requests pretty much until September, October. I would even say contract is still on the down as far as interest. Folks are jumping to contract to hire for kind of a test drive. So both for the candidate to really get a feel for the culture, the leadership, the team, because remote hire is really challenging, and you can't really get a sense of that bigger picture when you're just one-on-one or having group interviews virtually. So contract to hire is on the rise, and actually fractional marketing. So we've actually seen an influx in requests in that space, but we strategically partner for full-time hires. So I wouldn't have a really good lens on that. Maybe Michaela, you can speak to your space a little bit more too.
Yeah, what we're seeing is, I agree with Laura. I mean, firms or companies hiring search firms for marketing positions at any level for perm search is down from past years because resources are tighter, and there's a lot of good people out there applying for positions. Overall, as it relates to what you're seeing, Kay, is we're seeing higher levels of fear from candidates making a move because of they don't know what they're getting into from a stability standpoint. And then we're seeing that on the client side as well, a fear of making a wrong hiring decision because resources are tighter. And so therefore we are seeing that as well. Lots of internal promotions because employees are staying and clients feel like there's less risk if they are promoting internally. We're still seeing those jobs being posted and even working on some of them. And then I worked on a position where just last week I learned that they ended up hiring somebody internally. So we are seeing, you are not alone. We are seeing a lot of that as well.
Do you also feel that companies are taking longer? I'm still talking to 2 companies I've been talking since March. And I met almost every single person in the company, I would say.
Yeah, that's fear. That's that fear of client, there's such a high fear, a level of fear of making a hiring mistake, even though they now know you and everything that they could possibly know about you before potentially making you an offer. That is fear. If an interview process is that long.
Should I just move on? Should I even ask the hard question, hey, are you still interested in me? Are you still looking to hire?
Yeah, I don't think you have anything to lose by doing that. And as it relates to what Laura just said, being just unabashedly confident in saying, I am still very interested in this position and I am the right fit because of ABC. Are you still interested in moving forward or not? Sometimes showing that eagerness and that follow-up, just right, and that confidence, like Laura said, is what can help kind of move them from that unsure space to the other side.
And if you
Right.
don't want to do it in writing, I've seen some really awesome follow-ups of people doing, there's so many different video services now. If you shine in video, communicate via video, because what's you have to lose to say like, hey, I've been in interview processes with 5 different companies. You are first on my list. I want to let you know that I'm very excited, but I'm going to have to be getting back to these other companies. And again, I'm going to go back to my dating analogy. The more almost unavailable you are, you're seen in a light of like
Ooh, we gotta have them too.
desirable.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
like the hard, like, so the
Yeah.
people who are like desperate,
Mhm.
companies
No.
they can snip that out a mile away.
No.
But if
Yeah.
you've played up like, hey, I've got a lot of things cooking and I'm probably going to be off the market soon,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden sometimes things start moving.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is one large company that I've met the CEO, I met the CHRO, I met the CFO, all the C that you can think of, and the CEO told me that the end of October, that when we met again, he will get back to me in 10 days. And where are we now? December. I'm still not hearing back. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yep. It's unfortunate, I think, regardless of, the environment that we're in, but obviously with everything 2020 has brought to us, we're certainly seeing different challenges that we've, haven't had to navigate through before. And certainly decision making is one of them. So, I mean, you're not alone. As Michaela said, it certainly doesn't help how you're feeling in this space, but I would 100% agree. If I've ever been in transition, it's the follow-up, it's holding them accountable to what they're saying, because you're interviewing them too.
Right.
I have actually shown up to an event in the past that I found on my own when I was in search, and they had made an offer to another person. And let me tell you, I showed up anyway, and they felt embarrassed, as they should. But let me tell you, I was inside, I was like about to throw up because I was so embarrassed. But you know what? Nobody followed up with me. So it was kind of like help them take a lesson.
Yes.
Like, I showed up here, you didn't tell me I didn't get the job. I'm interested, but also, would I want to work for a company that can't follow up with me or tell me that they already made offer and just let me hanging there? So
this is almost like you get to size them up, right? Because if this is how they're treating you in the interview process, it could be a glimpse into how they're going to treat you when you're an employee.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And so just so you know, we're counseling on the other side too. So we're telling our clients, like, it matters. Even if this is not your hire, like how you treat everyone in your process, that is your employment brand.
Yeah. Right.
And so
yeah. So one more question. Because some of my target company is really taking forever. I'm also continue to build up my pipeline. There are 2 other companies that I'm talking to. They're really the smaller, very small size company. When I say very small, they're really small in terms of revenue and number of employees. And I just kind of have a feeling that, hey, although this is really not my wheelhouse, what's your recommendation? Should I keep talking to them? Should I keep having the interviews? Or what's your recommendation?
if you're feeling that way, I'd just be 100% honest and say, here's what I have to give. These and even share like, hey, I'm also talking to these types of companies. Here's what I can bring to your organization. And let's have this discussion now versus have me go through 3 more sets of discussions and then realize this. So I always think like, just, sometimes I think all of you should, everyone should have a list of non-negotiables. And if you're iffy on one of those non-negotiables, better to bring it up sooner than later. Talk about it, air it out, see how they respond.
Right.
It might save you some heartache.
I would agree. And then I would also add to confirm that what you think about that company is indeed true. For example, I've had run into this a couple times where a candidate's very interested in a company, but they assume because of the size of the company that they can't meet the salary requirements or expectations.
Yeah.
When actually it wasn't true. That company had more money than I would have thought. So I would say confirm that your perceptions are indeed correct. And if they are, and then that's not a fit, then yeah, step away.
Okay, that's a really good point. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. I talk too much.
Great questions, Kay.
Great questions. It's kind of round robin. Who's got something burning? Just throw it out there. Super informal. Or Laura's going to call on you.
Jen Sanford, you always have something cooking in your mind.
I don't necessarily. I kind of was wanting to hear what the landscape looked like too, but
it's different every time. It really, like, depending on, we've talked about stuff in marketing, we've talked about we just go wherever the conversation takes us.
Oh, so you've actually done this several times before. This isn't a new thing. Oh, good. Well, I'll have to be on like your list or something because I just popped on just because I saw it today.
Awesome.
And I was just kind of curious how the landscape is looking. I mean, now that the holidays, like there's just so many things. And one of the things that's been interesting for me is I kind of took some time off. I had a package. I wasn't really looking very hard. And now I started, but I'm having a lot of people reach out to me in healthcare and technology, like sourcers. And they're all, I don't have to relocate. They're all, what do you call it?
Oh,
yeah,
like virtual.
Yeah. So it's been really interesting. I've had like, I don't know, 4 or 5, interviews a week the last few weeks. And so I've moved into some 2, but it's just really interesting. So I'm just curious about, and some of them are contract. I've got one small company that's interested in hiring me as a consultant possibly. And I don't know how that would work. I'm just curious what you're seeing kind of just across the board with remote and all of those things.
Yeah, well, and we kind of touched too on it a little bit earlier, and just to give everyone a bigger picture, both Laura and Michaela are focused on full-time permanent search roles. I'm at Marcom today, so we provide fractional services as well as contract and contract to hire. So you kind of have a blend as far as what we're seeing in our space, and sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down depending on who you're chatting to. We're seeing an uptake in contract to hire.
You mentioned fractional twice. I don't know what that is.
So think of, so the big ticket term you're hearing today and kind of kicking off 2020 was this gig economy of fractional leadership. So somebody who is giving you, say, 15 to 20 hours a week in either C-suite marketing, C-suite sales. We've spun up fractional services as the getting of shit done, really. We're doing the things, the marketing activities for our clients as an extension of their team, but on a fractional basis. So they're not paying one person to sit in their seat, they're paying a team of folks that we're allocating work out to cost effectively. So it's becoming really popular with SMBs, much smaller companies who probably don't have marketing leadership or a marketing person, and or companies who have a marketing unicorn who needs overflow support.
Jamie, are you seeing that contractors are working remotely now, and will they be in the future too?
Great question. They're certainly working remote now. I can speak to our clients. Every single one of our assignments was maintained through 2020. So from the contract side of our business, we'd work with a lot of the larger companies. Their understanding of what 2020 looks like still isn't in stone. So when they are recruiting, the question of availability is still local candidates. Their ideal is that they will be returning to office, but I am seeing that flux for smaller to mid cap. They may never go back to the office. So they're actually having different questions internally going, if we're not spending all this money on headcount in this office space, what does that mean for the talent and how our team can work? So I still think there's a lot of undecided, but for most part, remote is a big question because it depends on the company and what their long-term plan is. Yeah. Are you seeing the same types of things?
I would say for small, mid-sized businesses, I would say over the summer, most of our clients were still saying, yep, we want them to be back 100%, post-COVID. And now we're seeing that shift. So it's like 100% remote now and 2 to 3 days in the office post-COVID. That's what I'm hearing the most of.
Do you think it depends on industry? Because I will say essentials, they're still running Monday through Friday in the office. Service-based or kind of B2B professional services are really more of the loosey open to remote.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. Although a couple of essential manufacturing businesses that I've talked to have all of their professional staff at home, and then we'll be back in 2 to 3 days a week in the office post-COVID. So it just really fluctuates.
What are you guys seeing in your search? Are you feeling like folks are looking for full-time on-site or more open to remote? Sounds like, Jen, you're getting remote.
Yeah, and around the country, that's what I find so interesting. But a lot of them are technology companies, because I have this bit of tech background. It's been crazy, people looking for me. And the tech companies are definitely like, we're never going to have an office.
Right.
So feels just a little bit more forward thinking than some. So then you can, it's good and bad, right? Like my search can be across the country, but then you're also, going up against everybody across the country. So it's kind of a good, bad thing.
I would say in my search, it's been about 50-50, like remote, and then some are saying remote until next year, and then with the eventual plan to go back on site. So it's what I've been seeing just in terms of my search has been kind of like, about 50-50. And so, and I can't say that I'm leaning one way or the other. It's a weird thing to think about. Like, how do you want to work going forward too? Like, how do I want to be in an office environment, or would I prefer that remote type jobs instead? And it's a tricky one. With the kids in the house, go to the office is a good idea. No, but really, no, it's been fine. But yeah, it's a tricky thing to determine for your own career. Like, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? So
I believe everyone here too has the ability to using their own network to pick up any sort of consulting opportunities right now. You can even be pro bono for your church or things in your community to help, because that also increases your desirability, rather than saying like, oh, I'm unemployed, to say, oh, I've actually been really busy with my church doing this and this doing this. Like, there's something very beautiful too when you become of service to other people and organizations that you're passionate about. And now more than ever, we can give our gifts to, like I could probably call up a ton of different businesses and say I could, help with their, one of the things I love to do is I come up with like LinkedIn messaging, right? And it's like, how could I help you with that? And I would just encourage everyone to think about, like, you are your own business right now. And, you don't even necessarily need to work for a company, right? Like, there's more shifts happening now more than ever for people to decide that they're going to be their own consultant. And that's where the whole fractional thing comes in, and consulting. Like, I see that being like, we're going to look back and say 2020, we can draw a line in the sand. And that's when so many people decided, I don't want to work for a company anymore. I want to work for myself. That's where I'm picking up a lot of energy, that a ton of people are looking for jobs. They don't even want them. And you know what? The person who's interviewing them, they see through that. Through that. And so you have to get really clear with yourself first about what you want. And that's the first step. As I think people skipping way to the job boards. I'm like, no, work on yourself first. Get clarity on what you want.
Digging into your network.
I agree, Laura. So this is Luis. Hello, everyone. So I wanted to build on what you were saying, in that it is very important to be connected and be doing things even when you are unemployed. If it is your desire to be working in another company, that you're doing something, just like you say, for so many reasons. And part of it is that how energized and motivated we are and how we sound, right? You can tell a difference from someone that is active and engaged and doing things, even if it's volunteering, and somebody that is kind of sitting idle there when you go to a job interview, and then you just kind of don't sound with the same energy. So that would be one aspect. Then also the other piece is learning, right? So that we are, when we're volunteering, doing other things, and we are expanding our perspective, working with other people, creating new networks, developing relationships and all that. And then also from a brain standpoint, then, chemically, we are just releasing dopamine and all of these, kind of like the areas of our brain that are related with pleasure get activated when we really are, giving and we're engaged. And so that's really, really important. Never see it. And actually, the final thing I'll say is that many friends of mine, when they have been employed for a long time, and then for some changes in their employment, they end up without a job, then they sometimes kind of lose their identity. They feel lost. Many times they don't want to even go out, or before COVID, when we could go out and meet with people physically, they would prefer not to, because many times people here start with a question, what do you do? And then they really just don't know how to answer that question. And when you are involved and volunteer and doing other things, you really, that is a question that you wouldn't be afraid of, that you can answer with, what you're doing and all that. But, and you also feel motivated to go out and meet other people, because you're really feeling good about yourself, rather than feeling lost because, you are not doing something at the moment. So great comment there, Laura. Thank you for doing this. Very appreciated.
Well, and what I really liked about what you said is that what do you do question. Something that was super helpful to me in transition is to recognize, well, what I do isn't an answer that's like, here's what I'm doing at work. What I do is, what have I done in my span? What do I like to do? And what kind of impact would I have on an organization to be able to turn around and answer that question? So it's almost like giving a high level of your resume, your kind of top 2 sentences of what you do. And then you follow, actually, I'm in transition right now, or I'm looking for a company to fit this, 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 and this. It's what you do shouldn't be scary. And Laura commented on that earlier. It's get really in tune with yourself as far as helping you find the connection to what that next opportunity is by getting really, really smart about what you do. That shouldn't be a scary question. It should be an exciting one.
I love that. Thank you, Jamie. And actually, you bring up a good point of feeling confident and comfortable to saying I'm in transition, right? Because, we're just like, you fear that saying I'm in transition, but it is okay to be in transition. In fact, I have something I like to mess up with people sometimes. And something I have done is, while I have been employed, I've gone to an event and somebody asked me, what do you do? And I say, I am in transition. They're, oh, I'm so sorry. And I say, like, why are you sorry? Well, because you don't have a job. No, I have a job. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you said that you were in transition. Yeah, I am in transition. Well, are you in transition? You have a job? Or it's like, yeah, I have a job, but I'm in transition because I'm always in transition. With a job or without a job, I'm always in transition because I'm in transition to something better. I'm always learning, expanding, growing. I want to be I'm just looking for opportunities. So I think we always have to be in transition. What about you? Are you in transition? Because if you are not in transition, then you're stuck. It means I should be sorry about you. But it is okay to be in transition. We have to feel comfortable and practice it. Get in front of a mirror and say, I am in transition, and be happy about being in transition, because we're always in transition to something better.
Oh, and today's session brought to you by Louise. Woo!
Right?
Can I get an amen?
I love that so much. That's really resonating with me. I have talked with a couple of executives in the last couple weeks. One, just recently, high-level marketer laid off from Lifetime with so many other people from Lifetime Fitness. And she said, the thing that's really bothering me is I've never had to job search. I've always just been referred to the next thing, and I've never been without a position. And she said, now I find myself sitting at home and realizing that I connected my worth and my value with my job and how much money I was making. And I was doing the same thing. I was shaking my head. Yep, I have felt like that. And so I just love what you both said, Luis and Laura, about and others, volunteering and offering your time and serving others, and all of those things can feed that bucket of the worth and value that you have in the market and serving others.
All right, we got time for just maybe one more, and then I've got to help a 3rd grader.
I have a quick question about, you talked about the fear of hiring on the employer side. What are some suggestions for how to move them past that, even if they don't come out and tell you that?
It's a good question. I think of like probing questions. So you as a candidate, you always should get the opportunity to ask after your conversations more about the role itself, but probing into the culture and what their decision-making process is planned to look like and how they're holding each other accountable to do that. Another way is just simply, what's out there right now is a lot of fear in hiring. How are you guys planning to navigate that for this position? I think being direct, being direct and asking them is, this is what I'm hearing. There's a lot of folks in transition. There's a lot of folks who are hiring right now. What is your plan to work together to get to a hire?
You could be so bold. You could be so bold and offer to try before you buy. And so try a consulting engagement for 3 months.
Yeah. I'm totally up with that. Yeah.
I was going to actually throw that around. I'm glad you said that, because it's kind of a question I was going to pose. Is anyone comfortable offering a contract to hire type of arrangement without some type of support behind you? Because I think the confidence that bolsters is huge.
Yes.
Yep. All this growth happening, lots of growth. We are all stepping outside of our comfort zones in different ways. We're all doing it in different ways. And I'm here to say it's okay. Like, if you connect with another human being and like if they have a sense of vulnerability, they will tell you too. Like, this is some days it's like we have to lower the bar of our expectations as well. It's good to have goals, but it's okay to be kind to ourselves. Like, if you wouldn't say that to your best friend, why are you saying that to yourself? It's monitoring that internal chatter.
It's so true.
Okay, well, we'll do this again in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Hope to see you. Share it with anyone. It's open drop-in session. So yes, this was great, you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Take care, everyone.
Hey guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
That was great.
That was an awesome